for that for about 20 years. I am also an author. I wrote a book called Not Good Enough: Understanding Your Core Belief and Anxiety, which looks at anxiety from the perspective of our core belief, feeling not good enough, not important, not valued. The model of therapy I practice also looks at behaviors, thoughts, experiences from that perspective of that same core belief as well.
Perfect. So, for those who may not be familiar, what is a core belief and how can we identify it?
So, our core belief is kind of that driving voice that we've got deep inside that navigates pretty much everything we do. It is around our belief in ourself. So, a lot of people who struggle, who feel discontent, who feel, unsettled, who have higher anxiety, struggle more with mental health, often that core belief, not good enough, not important, not valued, is more significant. So basically, what I'm doing is in counseling is helping people identify and figure out how that core belief developed throughout their life, and then how to challenge and change that core belief so they feel more and more good enough, important, and valued. We're constantly trying to prove to ourselves that what we believe about ourselves is true. So if my core belief is that not good enough, not important, not valued, I'm going to be drawn to people, places, experiences, my own perceptions, behaviors that are going to ultimately reinforce and support that core belief. So I go out and get drunk, get a bit of a distraction, don't have to feel anything, but the next day I'm hungover, I feel like garbage, I spent money I didn't have, I embarrassed myself, I broke promises, ultimately reinforcing and supporting not good enough, not important, not valued.
So, for example, if I'm someone who has a core belief and I believe that I'm not good enough, that has originated from somewhere. Probably childhood, right? Maybe my parents told me that, maybe something else. Is it something that we can work through?
Absolutely. Most definitely. That's what I spend all day, every day doing with all my clients is helping them become more aware and understand how that core belief has developed throughout their life, looking at experiences, but even more important than experience, it's about how those experiences are handled. In a lot of cases, we're just, oh, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. We don't even bring it up because we're worried about offending someone or hurting someone's feelings or our parents not being able to handle it. So it just sits there and festers. And so what we're doing, or what I do in my model of therapy, is I help clients sort through and understand that core belief so then they can challenge it at a much deeper level. So rather than just going, okay, well, I got to stop drinking, it's understanding, why do you drink in the first place? What do you get out of it? And then challenging at that deeper level. And then what we see happening is things like alcohol, they don't need them anymore because they don't need to suppress that core belief. They're better at feeling emotions and sorting through them, so they don't need it as much. So it's easier to stop doing the behavior because you're not fighting it. It's not this willpower piece, it's coming from a deeper place of understanding.
So it's not the vehicle that you're using for that core belief. You're looking at the origins of that core belief. So, for example, it's not, well, I'm drinking too much. The question is, okay, why are you drinking and what is it doing for you? Is that accurate?
That's accurate. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, how do you feel when you drink? Well, I don't have to feel anything. Slows my brain down, numbs my emotions. Okay, well, why do you need that? Well, because no one ever taught me how to feel my emotions or sort through my emotions. No one taught me how to regulate my thoughts and calm my brain down. I grew up in a home where I saw my mom running around all the time. Her brain was going 100,000 miles an hour. My dad drank when he got home and he was tired from work. Okay, so these are learned behaviors that you use to help you cope in an unhealthy way that ultimately end up reinforcing and supporting not good enough, not important, not valued. Because now the next night, you need alcohol again, and the next night, and the next night. So you're becoming dependent on something outside of yourself, which is going to feed not good enough, not important, not valued for sure.
What happens if someone is using different things that is a result of their core belief? So, for example, in what we talked about, the drinker, right? We get them to drink less, but then having promiscuous sex. We get them to tone that down. They're doing something else. Do you see people jump from thing to thing to thing in an effort to soothe them without truly addressing the root of it?
That is exactly what happens if you're not dealing at it from that core belief level. My core belief drives everything I do, and I quit drinking. Well, now I still need to distract and reinforce that core belief. So now, if I'm more promiscuous, it's a distraction. But ultimately, I got to do the walk of shame the next day. I feel embarrassed. I feel guilty. I get a reputation. I beat myself up over it, reinforcing not good enough, not important, not valued. Vast majority of people who quit drinking go to either anger or gambling. So it just switches from one to the other. Both of those reinforce and support that core belief. They're both ways of still suppressing emotions. So we need to get better at focusing at that deeper level and sort through it at that core belief level. Otherwise, we just end up spinning in these cycles that happen over and over and over again.
There's someone that I'm going to get a little personal with you, Sabrina, here, okay? So I apologize in advance. There was someone who was struggling with a belief that they didn't think they're going to be good enough for a healthy relationship. And
Mm.
I share this because they would admit at this age, right? They're almost 50, but in their 20s and 30s, you know how it is. We don't know what we don't know. So ultimately what they did was they realized as they got older that they were just dating the wrong type of men and or the men that wasn't helping them to become the woman that she wanted to be. In her late 40s, she realized this. Unfortunately, what has happened now, instead of her thinking, I'm not going to be able to get a healthy relationship, because she's older in age, that switched to her thinking, maybe I'm too old to get the type of relationship that I want. Maybe my skin isn't as tight as it used to be. Maybe I'm not as attractive as I am. So then she began to continue to self sabotage, but she did it under a different premise. Would that still point back to the core belief, even though in that situation she's still telling, in general now, even though in that situation she's still telling herself a different story that is ultimately leading to the same result?
For sure. I'm too old. My skin is, more saggy. I've got more wrinkles. My hair is grayer. All those things are things you're using to kind of beat yourself up and reinforce not good enough, not important, not valued. But they're also excuses you use so you don't have to take a risk. You don't have to step outside of your comfort zone. You don't have to try something new. There's a big difference between wanting a healthy relationship and creating a healthy relationship. Wanting a healthy relationship means you never have to actually do it. You can just sit back and want it, right? And most of my clients, especially couples, they'll say to me, we just want a loving relationship. And I say, okay, well, how do you feel about vulnerability, fear, loneliness, rejection, insecurity? They're like, oh, no, 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 I don't want to feel those. Well, you can't have a healthy relationship without those things. You have to be willing to feel vulnerable, fear, rejection, abandoned, lonely to have a healthy relationship. So, what we often see people is going into these relationships where their emotions that they're willing to feel is very limited, which means their relationship is then going to be very limited. They're drawn to someone who has a very similar core belief. So if I'm drawn to someone who doesn't treat me very well, my core belief is about at the same level of them. And I often see this people say, well, my partner is emotionally abusive. My partner never lets me know where they are. My partner's cheating. My partner's this, my partner's that. They need to change. My question is, why are you okay to be in a relationship like that? That's a much more empowering question that is going to help you be able to figure out what you need to do to be in a healthy relationship, right? We often see, especially women, going to men that they need to take care of. They need to make them feel better. They need to cater to their needs. What do I get out of that? I get something very significant. I don't have to deal with my own stuff. As long as I'm taking care of everyone else and trying to make my partner feel better, I don't have to deal with what's really going on for me. And I cater, 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 but then I end up feeling resentful because I'm always the one catering. I'm always the one taking care of you. I never get anything in return. You don't appreciate me. You don't value me. Reinforces and supports, not good enough, not important, not valued.
How can someone come to terms and identify that feeling that you were describing where it goes back to not good enough, not valuable enough?
I think the very first step is awareness. If you're not aware that you're doing it, you're not going to do anything different. So you don't even know you need to do anything different. So we want to kind of be aware of those three phrases: not good enough, not important, not valued. And when something happens, we want to stop and go, okay, is one of those being triggered? And you'll feel it. It'll either be yes or no. And it's usually pretty obvious. Then you start realizing, oh, yeah, there's not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. Or maybe it's more not valued. Sometimes it's more one than the other. Sometimes it's all three. But then you can start to become aware of how often you're unconsciously chasing that core belief so that you can support it. If it's unconscious, you're not even aware you're doing it. So you're going to continue to do it. Once you increase that awareness, bring it more into your conscious brain, then you can start to challenge yourself and go, wait a second. Here I go again down this path. This new partner hasn't responded in 4 days, and I keep texting and texting and texting, waiting for a response, rather than going, wait a sec. If he can't bother to call me in 4 days, I need to move on to find someone else who makes me more of a priority. That reinforces good enough, important, and valued.
And then I guess one of the traps would be that if we have that belief, not good enough, not important enough, not valuable, not valued enough, we may surround ourselves with people who think the same. To your point, right? We're chasing that core belief. Now everyone around us is thinking the same thing. So I'm valuable because I'm around a lot of people who aren't valuable.
That's right. There misery loves company, right? If we're all in it together, we don't even really notice it. It's one of the things I see happen quite often with my clients is after they've been in counseling for a while, they're addressing their core belief, they're challenging it, they've got more awareness, they start going, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how messed up my friends and family were." I'm like, "Yeah, because you were the same." So as long as you're in the same chaos, you don't notice anything different. Once you start to move out of that chaos, there's a bit of a shining light that comes on it where you start to see things that before were just normal for you. You didn't notice the difference at all.
That sounds that sounds like a trap for a lot of people. That seems like it's difficult to get out. Is it as difficult as maybe I'm starting to think it is?
Oh no, it's hard to get out of. Yeah, yes, there is. I'll tell my clients going through this process and challenging and changing at a core belief level is going to be probably one of the most difficult things you've ever done in your life. The only thing more difficult is living the way you've been living. But that's more familiar. You don't know anything different. And so it's easy to see that. I see clients choose misery over contentment, peace, confidence, time after time after time again, simply because they know what it looks like. Trying something new, that's unpredictable. Our brain goes, whoa, we don't know how to handle that. We don't know what it looks like. And so it won't go there. People choose normalcy over and over and over again.
I look at my own life and I remember the change that I had to make. As you mentioned, I got used to a certain way of living. It wasn't serving me anymore. It was causing chaos. I would have sleepless nights and I would say to myself, Sabrina, what the hell am I going through right now? But I didn't do a lot to change until something happened. And once that something happened, because my life was falling apart, it took me 10 years, my entire 20s. A lot of people are partying, go to clubs. I'm just like, oh my God, I just want to survive.
Yeah.
To get to the point of thriving. But it took something significant in the sense that I was having difficulty at my job. My parents divorced. My relationship at the time was ending. So I didn't have a safe place. I didn't have work. I didn't have my home. I didn't have the arms of the person I was in a relationship with. That was significant to me to say that, Terrain, you have to do something to change that. On the other side, now, if it's someone that just has a little tingling in their hand, maybe they'll ignore it for 10, 20, 30 years, right? We talked about like anxiety and things like that, what are some of the other ways that it shows up in the body? And are these true indicators, or do you see some people waiting until it gets so bad that they really can't do much?
Most people have to hit their rock bottom, whatever that is, right? As long as it's just kind of status quo, why change? It's often when we hit a really big bump, like we get a big breakup, we lose a job, our family says, Kate, enough, we're not dealing with your alcoholism or your addictions, or you've cheated on me one too many times, and there's a big change. That's often when people go, oh, darn, I need to figure out and do something different. And a lot of people will think about doing something different, but it's a much smaller number that actually does something different. So then you got to hit the next bottom of the barrel. And that's usually even a bigger piece that you have to kind of sort through. So it's challenging. It is not easy. Our brain makes decisions based on past behavior. And so it stays in those cycles over and over and over again. And it can look a lot like a lot of the things that you said, where you just had chaos, you weren't sleeping. Those are all very common symptoms that reinforce and support not good enough, not important, not valued. And unconsciously, we don't know that's what we're trying to do. So why would we do anything different? Something great comes up, you meet someone who's kind and respectful and understanding. Oh, they're too clingy. Got to get rid of them, right? Because it just doesn't feel right. You don't feel like you have the right to a healthy relationship. You don't believe in yourself. You can handle a healthy relationship. And so you sabotage. You're drawn to the more unhealthy person, because then you can still feel loved while also still fighting and bickering with each other, still feeling not appreciated, not good enough, not important, not valued. Partner feels the same way. Just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Someone shared with me that she was drawn to the chaos, and she had a relationship that there was very little arguing. They would go weeks, months without arguing. And she was like, Terrain, I hate it. It's so quiet, because she's alone in her own thoughts now, right? And because she's always used to furniture being thrown, there's no furniture being thrown.
Yeah.
She, to your point, began to self-sabotage. And the interesting thing about it, so, and I'll get your take on this, Sabrina, is that when the drama was happening and the other person would pull away, she'd want to go closer. But then when it was calmed down, she would pull away. It was like a game, push pull, push pull, push pull. And that can be quite daunting for the other person, because they're probably thinking, what the hell is this person on, and what is going on? From the other person's perspective, how can we assist them and give them some tips in general to say that we understand you're going through this, but maybe these are some best practices that may help you understand the situation and the playing field a lot better?
Again, I think it comes back to figuring out what's going on for them as well. Why are they okay to stay in a relationship like that? It's because they're getting something out of it too, right? So we'll often see a relationship where, the one partner is very kind of closed off, doesn't want to talk about emotions, kind of short-tempered, and the other one, often the woman, is the one, oh, I just want him to be more open. I want him to talk to me more. I just want to have a stronger connection. Well, they're drawn to each other for a reason, because she can want that without getting it. And he is also not getting it as well. So instead of her saying, I don't really want connection, she can say, oh, I do want it, but he's not willing to give it to me. Bottom line is then you don't really want it either. Because if you did, you wouldn't be with that person. As long as I say I want it and I'm chasing it, I don't ever have to actually deal with it. Having a healthy relationship means connection, means vulnerability, means fear, means you have to believe you are good enough, important, and valued. If you don't like doing those things, you're going to be drawn to a more unhealthy relationship.
Could that mean then that some people are more in love with the chase than the actual obtaining of it?
Absolutely. Because what do you get out of the chase? You get chaos, you get disappointment, you get frustration, you get to support that you're not good enough, right? It reinforces that. It creates this distraction so you don't have to deal with what's really going on. A lot of people who have that core belief often struggle a lot with connection. They've often grew up feeling very disconnected. Even if, mom and dad were together in the same house, there was usually a significant amount of emotional disconnection. They felt very alone, very on their own, didn't learn to talk about emotions, didn't learn to feel their emotions. So they are more comfortable disconnecting. So when I'm chasing, I don't have to connect. When I'm in the drama and the chaos, it's a distraction, so I don't have to connect. I don't have to think about my own thoughts. These are all great distractions that we use so we don't have to take responsibility for what's really going on within us. And for so many people, they've been doing it for so long, they don't even know anything different. It's all they know.
I'm chasing six figures. I get it. I want something else because it's not the six figures, it's the chase. And I'm always going to put the carrot in front of me because I don't really want to get the carrot. I just want to run this perpetual race. Would that be accurate?
Like once I get the carrot, then I have to create a bigger carrot. Right. And then I need a bigger carrot, right? I want to make 100 grand. I want to make 200 grand. I want to have this. I want to have this. It's never enough. I hear people say that all the time. Like I set these goals, I obtain these goals, but then, a couple of weeks, it's not enough. I'm not content in that. I need more. And part of that again is I'm not focusing on me. I'm focusing out here. As long as I keep focusing out at everything out here, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's money, whether it's relationship to make me feel better, I'm not going to feel better within myself. It has to come from within you. And we don't do that as a society. We think about all these things out here. Once I have this, then I'll feel good enough, important, and valued. It's just not the way it works. As long as you're looking outward, you're never going to be content.
So, what are then some of the obstacles that people are facing that's preventing them, sorry, from looking inward and finding the fulfillment before looking outward?
I think one of the biggest things is the fear of feeling our emotions. We have been taught for generations to suppress our emotions and push them down. In order for me to really deal with what's going on inside of me, I have to deal with all the emotion that I have been suppressing for decades. If I've had a lot of childhood trauma, I've had neglect, I've had abuse, I've had violence going on in my life, and it was just push down, push down, push down, push down, I'd way rather distract than deal with what's really going on. We see people choose instant gratification over the best choice long distance time after time and time again. It takes a ton of energy to run away from things, to distract from things. Once we actually just stop and start to trust in ourselves more that we can handle feeling these emotions, we can sort through it. It's actually going to make us feel more content within ourselves, more comfortable. It builds good enough, important, and valued. Then we can stop running. And the relief that comes from that is massive.
Sabrina, you tell me to stop chasing it and I have to be still, then I'm going to be still with my own thoughts. And if I'm in my own thoughts, I may realize that I don't really like myself.
For sure. And that's kind of, I mean, that's a very common belief that comes from that core belief, right? I don't like myself. I don't like who I am. I think anyone who's been hurt people. And so we often end up carrying shame, guilt, regret, and that just feeds that core belief. And as long as I'm carrying shame, why would I believe I have the right to a happy life? Why would I believe I have the right to feel content? Why would I believe I have the right to feel good in a job that I have a healthy relationship? It's not balanced. So until I deal with that shame, that guilt, that regret, till I really sort through the things that I've been through in my life and the hurt that I've caused other people, my ability to really be content within myself is going to be significantly limited. So we often see people running and running and running in circles trying to avoid that rather than just sitting in it. And I think part of what happens is we end up, okay, I'm just going to sit in this, and we just bite off way too much. and it's too big and it's too overwhelming. And so then we end up back at square one or even before square one. One of the tools I use with my clients significantly is we need to go very, very slowly. We take one little tiny step and then we practice that for a good period of time. When we practice, we build confidence. Then, when I feel confident in that step, I take another little tiny step. And then I practice it and build confidence and then take the next step. It takes longer to go through that, but you actually do move through the process rather than just falling back into the old ways of doing things. So we need to go very slow and build confidence as we're learning these new skills.
It goes back to that saying, right? You either have a choice to spend time preventing it, resolving it, or you're going to spend time living with it. And I'm speaking from like a medical health perspective, right? Like if you've ignored your body, let's say these core beliefs, you're ignoring it, and now you have anxiety, now you have depression, now you have all these other illnesses that's falling upon you because sometimes, like we talked about, you ignore it until your hands start tingling, your feet start tingling, you're stressed out. Like I was earlier, you can't sleep, you're having all these types of nightmares and dreams. And then your body is telling you, hey, you need to fix this now.
Right.
We talked about people identifying this. Would that mean that there's going to be many people out there that will never be able to resolve it?
Not never be able to, but never choose to. Yeah, the vast majority.
That many. And you say choose, meaning that they have a choice.
You always have a choice, right? It's not that you're not able to figure this out. You have to choose whether you are going to do that or not. You've got to believe in yourself, you can handle it. If you don't believe in yourself, you can handle doing it, you're not going to. So you're not going to make that choice. Healing is a choice. And there's a lot of people that use excuses and justifications to avoid dealing with what's really going on, right? Like my hands are really tingly. Oh, it must be my central nervous system. Well, yeah, it's coming from your central nervous system, but it's created because of your anxiety, because of your thoughts, because of your core belief. Using it as well, it's just my nervous system, or oh, this is just the way it is. I have irritable bowel syndrome. Well, I just can't eat wheat. Well, okay, but you're not solving why it's really there in the first place. And that often comes back to anxiety and symptoms of anxiety. Anxiety is lack of confidence, not believing in yourself you can handle something. It's not about the thing. I don't have anxiety of heights. It's not about heights. Anxiety is about my belief in my ability to handle it. If I believe I can handle heights, I'm not going to have anxiety. If I believe I can't handle heights, I'm going to have anxiety. So it's not even about my skill, whether I can handle heights or not. I don't know. It's whether I believe in it myself. If my core belief is not good enough, not important, not valued, I am going to have more anxiety because I'm not going to believe in myself as much that I can handle things. So I get tingling feelings in my fingers. I sigh all the time. I hold my breath. I have bad dreams. I can't fall asleep. I curl my toes up in my shoes really, really, really tight. I bite my lip. These are all symptoms of anxiety where your body is going, hello, something's going on here. Are you going to recognize? Are you going to do something about it? And if you do, great. But if you don't, then those symptoms get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger until finally you get very ill and you go to the doctor and the doctor prescribes something to try to make you feel better. But then it starts all over again, anyways. We have to deal with this at a much deeper level.
The body will whisper and then it will shout. And by the time it shouts, for many of us, it's too late.
Exactly. Yeah.
You said when you have to do it on a deeper level, that would involve work
Mm-hmm.
and effort.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to someone that says, Sabrina, I work 12-hour days. I don't have the time to do the type of work you're asking me to do. How can we speak to them about highlighting the importance of it?
Well, so if I had a client who actually came to me and said, I'm working 12 hours a day, I don't have the time to do this, I would say, well, then why are you here? There's a part of you that does want to do this, right? And I'll often even, on my screen, I'll draw a circle and I'll say, if this is you, how much of you is wanting to try to do this? Maybe it's just a speck. Maybe it's a little circle. Maybe it's a big circle. But there's a part of you that wants to do this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So let's acknowledge and recognize that part. And then let's figure out, how do we make that part a little bit bigger? How much are you willing to challenge yourself? I'm not asking for 12 hours of you working on yourself. This is something that you can do that can actually make your 12 hours of work feel more enjoyable, not be as stressful. Create a sense of pride in your work. What would that feel like? And then ultimately, I say it's your choice. If you don't want to put the effort in, don't put the effort in. But if you do, we can make some pretty significant changes. But ultimately, the choice is up to you. You have to decide whether you're worthy enough of working on yourself or not.
And that's the key, right? Like this, you have to, are you worthy enough to make that change? Because it's a result that you start today, you're not going to see it tomorrow. You start today, you may not even see it for a couple months. You start today, ladies and gentlemen, you may not see it for a number of years. Whereas someone could say, I'm going to stay the same, and I can see that, well, I'm getting money working the 12 hours, right? They have immediate results versus maybe the work you and I are asking them to do is that it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be scary, it may even be lonely, but your future self is going to thank you for it today. Do some people struggle with that, with having patience when it comes to this type of journey?
Right? We live in a very quick society, right? We'll stand in front of the microwave going, oh, come on, hurry up. Right. And so we want this instant gratification. And we see people picking options that are quick in the moment, less painful than the things that we really have to work for. But I'll often say to my clients, think about the things that you're really proud of in your life. Are they things that just happened really easy? Or are they things that you worked at, that you made a commitment to? This is that. This isn't easy, but you will feel something different on the other side. And I often say to my clients, I can't even tell you what you're going to feel on the other side because honestly, you don't know what it is and I can't explain it to you. You got to live it to get there. But that means you have to trust in yourself that you can handle taking that risk. And I'll have clients say, well, tell me what the process is. Tell me what it is so I understand how I get from A to B. I say, no. Well, why not? So because me telling you what it's going to look like means you don't have to trust in yourself that you can handle doing it. That's not helping you. I want you to go into this kind of blind and trust in yourself that you're going to be able to handle it. That's how you build confidence. Me telling you we're going to do A and then B and then C and then D and then E, you just have to follow along. That's not building confidence. You coming in and not realizing we're going to pi squared today, that catches you off guard. You have to figure out whether you're going to handle that, how you can manage it. And at the end go, well, that was hard, but I did it. I'm here. I'm on the other side of it. That's how you build the confidence in yourself that you can handle doing things. And you start in those little steps. I'll say to my clients, yeah, it's going to take you a long time. It's, your client's, 50 years old. It's taking you 50 years to get to where you are right now. That's not going to turn around in 3 months, 6 months, even a year. It's only 1/50th of your life. We need to be realistic. But I do say, but if we start talking about this, you will start to see things that you never noticed before. You will start to make changes and feel more empowered in your journey fairly shortly. But you have to remember that's a starting point. But you can build on that. You don't have to wait a year to see results. You're going to start to see results fairly quickly, but there's not going to be huge shifts and changes. So you need to have realistic expectations, not expect those great big giant leaps. It's just not the way I work with my clients.
What role then, if any, do you think guilt plays when someone's making this journey or feeling loneliness when they're on the journey for their clients?
So I have a bit of a different perspective around guilt. So I talk about the difference between guilt and regret. So the definition that I use of guilt is not living up to someone's expectations, usually our own. So guilt is more of a thought than it really is a feeling, right? So if I think I need to cater and make everyone happy, when I have my own voice, I'm going to feel guilty because I'm not living up to my expectations that I need to make everyone else happy. So what I need to do in that moment is challenge myself and say, okay, why am I feeling guilty? Because I'm not making everyone else happy. But is that the expectation I want to continue for myself? No. My expectation now is I want to start having more of a voice in a respectful manner, but I want to start having more of a voice. So what do I have to feel guilty about? Nothing. Guilt is often something we also talk about how it's something that we just used to beat ourselves up with over and over and over again. I don't really have to change my behavior. There's not a lot of responsibility and ownership in guilt. Not good enough, not important, not valued. Oh, loves guilt. Regret is different. Regret is, yeah, I can see I shouldn't have done that. I am going to make a conscious effort on working and doing things differently. And then moving forward, I'm not beating myself up with it. I'm taking responsibility for my actions and I'm figuring out how I'm going to address that moving forward. That feeds good enough, important, and valued.
I like that because I look at the two differently as well. I look at guilt as an external component to it, like someone else expectations of me. I'm gonna do this work with Sabrina. I'm improving. Now I feel guilty because this person thinks that I think I'm better than them, or I'm not going out with them. So there's an external factor where regret, as you mentioned, is that, man, I regret doing this, or I regret not doing this for myself because I see how much happier I am. So I agree with you when it comes to that, Sabrina.
Right. I have people say, I don't have any regrets in my life because every decision I made got me to where I am right now. Sure, I get that, but we're looking more at regret from a different perspective of just taking ownership and responsibility and going, yeah, my bad. I screwed up. I need to work on doing it differently moving forward for sure. I believe in my counseling agency and for me personally, it is okay for me to have regrets. It means I am taking responsibility and I am actively working on doing things differently, which is then also building good enough, important, and valued.
It could be a source of power in your life.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I always say empowered, right? I want to feel empowered within myself. Taking ownership for my actions and behaviors absolutely makes me feel more empowered within myself. My clients often come in, they need to control everything, right? They've got, 7 lists that have 13 sub lists and everything's organized. That's control. That's out here. Nope, not going to worry about that. I need to feel empowered within myself. The more empowered I am within myself, the more I believe no matter what comes up, I can handle it. I'll figure it out. Might not be graceful. I might not even make the right choice, but I'll figure it out. The less I need to control everything out here. But when I feel very powerless, my need to control everything out here because I don't believe in myself that I can handle any little thing that comes up, the more need for control I have out here.
So Sabrina, let me ask you one final question before I let you go. I want to give you three wishes, and I want you to wish for the three things. What are three things you wish people knew about the benefits of empowerment in regards to their core beliefs and why?
Ooh, I think I wish people knew that they are more capable than what they give themselves credit for. We are way more resilient. I hear clients say, "Oh, I can't go to that social event because I have too much anxiety, I have social anxiety." When you stop and look at all the experiences they've been through their entire life, all the hurt and the trauma that they've been through, they really they can't handle an evening out socially. Yes, they can. So we don't give ourselves enough credit. So I wish people were more aware of how much they really are capable and how much they really can handle, based on what they've already handled in their life, for sure. I also would wish that people would just take the first step. That's the hardest step. Once you take that first step in figuring out how to become more empowered, the next step is a little bit easier, and the next step is even easier. It's that first step that is the hardest one, for sure. And then I think the second one, I wish that people would realize that when I have a sense of empowerment, there's a sense of acceptance and understanding for everyone else. So, like I said, people in counseling, they got chaos with their friends. Once they start getting healthier, they see the chaos that their friends have. And it's about accepting and understanding that's where they're at. That's okay. I'm not better than them. They're not worse than me. I'm on my journey. They're on their journey. And I'm going to accept and understand that they are where they are. I need to put boundaries in place about how I want to manage that and what I want it to look like. But I think one of the things that we see really struggling in our world is our ability to accept and understand that people are where they are. We want people to do what we want to do. There's a lot of defensiveness, anger, and all of that stuff comes from that, just not accepting and understanding that everyone can have a different opinion, and that's okay. Everyone can be at their own pace in their journey, and that's okay.